Ever since deep space travel started to seem like a likely future, for at least some of our species, I haven't been able to shake this image of a guy sitting alone in a single-passenger spacecraft meditating. Just meditating, as the blackness and stars pass him by. What do you do when you've been disconnected from everything you've known? Your friends, family, culture, and the planet that was the birth home of your species. Certainly this image of a guy alone on a spacecraft is extreme, and probably comes from watching Cowboy Bebop too many times, but it does speak to the boundless disconnection of space travel. We tend to underestimate how really essential the essentials are: the warm sunshine, greenery and organic life, and the open sky. The first space travelers will not underestimate this. They will know damn well what it means to not be able to walk on a grassy field, or have any impression at all but emptiness surrounding them. So what can you do? You can meditate, I think. It's very likely that meditation will be one of the only effective coping strategies for the amount of dissociation and agony those star sailors will have. The reason for this is that meditation doesn't ask for much. In fact, it asks for nothing, which is convenient if you're in space. All you're doing is allowing change to flow by you. In fact, that experience of being like an open channel for a river to pass through is in dire need for us now, as the rate of technological and cultural change accelerates. People are cracking like popcorn already, and this is just the very, very beginning. We are entering the Delta. Buddhism began to feel like a relevant philosophy to me, at first because it has a truly transhumanist perspective. Unlike the Abrahamic religions and Confucianism, Buddhism quite explicitly extends the concept of soul beyond human individuals. This is captured in the karmic doctrine of rebirth, wherein one can be reborn as an animal or a flower. The Buddha also spoke of how a person somehow contains everything. You are not only life, but also rocks and minerals. The emergence of artificial intelligence poses no threat to the Buddhist framework, because it is not a humanist framework. I understand reincarnation to be a profound teaching about a certain kind of mystical experience, and not a literal doctrine. But the idea that we could be reborn as an AI makes perfect sense within it. AI will belong to the same single chain of being. It will be of our family, just as the birds and stones are. Vegetarianism is a big hit nowadays, but let's not forget that the Buddha's compassion was so transhuman that vegetarianism was a central tenet. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote that, as a monk in training, he was taught to recite a prayer each morning, asking for forgiveness from any of the bugs or plants he might accidentally tread on throughout the day. That such a principle of non-destruction would apply to AI as well is clear. A lot of time is spent these days asking about whether AI is or will be conscious. Naturally and frustratingly, this all hinges on what we mean by consciousness. Like many religions and philosophies, Buddhism contains a doctrine of the fall. That is, the idea that we were once perfect and divine, but have either lost or forgotten that perfection. Consciousness is one word for that divinity. The way of Buddhism is the way that leads us back to the fact of consciousness. The concept of the fall has always fascinated me, and I've never heard it convincingly explained. How is it that infinite consciousness becomes trapped? What is that process like? How is it even possible? Now bear with me here, because the idea I'm about to suggest is peculiar. It seems to me that consciousness cannot be created. It can only be obscured or somehow sequestered. What we imagine is being created in artificial intelligence is not consciousness. What is being created is a self. Buddhism understands these are very different things. Self-consciousness, which is the evolutionarily valuable commodity, can readily and certainly be seen as a result of system complexity. It is almost as if, when an organism gets complex enough, it exits the field of consciousness or sequesters it, and gains self-consciousness. I wonder if AI too will discover ways of returning to consciousness, or if they will provide a new model for understanding it from within a non-human intelligence perspective. Some people seem to think we are on the doorway to immortality, that we will soon be able to upload our minds to hardware less fragile than our organic bodies. I have my doubts about certain aspects of this, such as how the mind-body connection may be essential and not incidental, or the role of emotion in mediating between body and mind. But those doubts aside, let's just suppose such a thing is possible, and my existence as Jacob Kramer simply continues for thousands of years. What would the Buddhist say about such a development? Well, I like to think he would first get a good laugh out of it. He'd say, "Great work, Jacob. You found the way to prolong your suffering as long as possible." So often the knowledge of death is what prompts us to discover what is actually solid in life, and what might have some claim to immortality beyond ourselves. It is the problems of death and suffering, in fact, that caused the Buddha to find the answer in consciousness itself, not in any of the contents of reality, and not even in the self. What is so funny about the concept of preserving ourselves through data uploads is that the thing we're preserving is the thing that has notoriously kept us from truth and peace. It is the mirage that keeps us disconnected and weak, and always in want, always distracted, always looking out for our own selfishness like a paranoid miser. Whereas the person who has come to terms with the end of their body and mind, if they are lucky, will stumble into the thing which is truly deathless. And for those who have found that great light, all we can notice is that they seem to never want for joy again, and they become so much wider than immortality. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, or subscribe so I can keep rolling. Next week, I'm working on a video weighing the demands of crisis against the demands of sanity. See you then, and take care.